Chaos's tendrils have been slowly wrapping around me as we are delving into yet another Chaos action figure review. This is Spruce and Studs, and today we are going to be reviewing the third Chaos action figure, which is the JoyToy Chaos Black Legion Space Marine, which I suppose the closest Loyalist analog would be the Assault Space Marine. Specifically, we're going to be reviewing the one with the bolt pistol as well as the chainsword. So again, I'm very curious to see what JoyToy has to offer with these action figures, mainly because with the Loyal Space Marines, they're clean and they're, very bland in look. Whereas if you go over to the Chaos side of things, they are all very unique and have their own special iconography that are attached to them. So without further ado, let's jump right on into the review.
All right, everybody, in front of you is the subject matter of our review, which is the Chaos Black Legion Space Marine. So let's get to the unboxing right now. Ooh, we have a card which says that this Chaos Space Marine, his name is Talas. Okay, we have the Chaos Space Marine fully unboxed, so let's start off with reviewing the armaments as usual. Starting off with this wicked looking chainsword. I really like the look of this chainsword. It looks very raw and jagged compared to the Loyalist Space Marine ones, which I would expect because, hell, this is a Chaos action figure. One thing that I really like that stands out is you have these teeth that are running up and down the blade of it. And obviously you have the blade of the chainsword itself. However, looking at the painting of the chainsword, you have basically something that I would expect a lot with the JoyToy action figures, which is, again, bleed from the brass onto the black over here. And this occurs all around this edge over here. And then I expect the same thing from the other side, which is, again, very true. And then you get some rather messy highlights with dry brushing up top over here with the silver onto the darker gunmetal type of color. And you also get that gunmetal type of look over here, which I think is perfectly fine. It actually looks very worn, rugged, and used, which I believe that, this chainsword has probably been used over a course of the millennia. So of course it would look like this. Very weathered. And you also get the same highlighting with the teeth of the chainsword. I'll have to say that with the look of this chainsword, it looks like the bronze didn't really cover up as much as we would really like over here. You get some black that's peeking out from the bronze color. And that's pretty much it for this chainsword. How about let's look at the bolt pistol. And the bolt pistol does look a little bit ragged, just like its chainsword brethren. You do have a lot of the same dry brushing over here with the silver on top of the darker gunmetal. This is actually a very nice look to it. I can get behind that. And if you look here, there is some light highlighting over here. However, the highlighting is fairly inconsistent, in my opinion. If you look at the top of this pistol, the highlighting also is fairly uneven. All right, that's a close-up of this pistol. Let's take a look at the backpack. So again, with the backpack, if you're looking at a perfect painting job, no, this is way far from a perfect painting job, unfortunately. As you can see here, there are highlights all along the ribs, I believe, of this backpack. However, they are fairly uneven in my opinion. Some of them are thinner than others. You get a little bit of a mess over here where the dry brushing went a little bit too far off into the black. And then you also get silver bleed from the pipes onto the black, and I believe that's the case for this as well. The silver bleeds onto the black of the backpack, and adding onto the silver bleed is on this side as well as this side. So it looks like that bleed is a consistent thing that you will find throughout this whole entire backpack. And if you're looking at the shading of these areas right here, it is also fairly inconsistent, because if you take a look at this area, it is very, very dark compared to this one over here. And then if you flip it around, the same goes with this. It is very dark compared to this, which is a bit too light. And you also get these very dark pockets of shading here, whereas the one next to it does not have that much. So we are seeing a lot of inconsistencies with this action figure in terms of painting, probably a lot more than I would really like to see. Okay, moving on to the meat and potatoes of the whole entire thing, which is the action figure itself. Let's take a look at the head. So on the head, immediately right off the bat, you get a paint defect over here. I wonder if it's on the other side. No, it's not on the other side, which is good. Unfortunately, it sucks just to see that. The highlighting, unfortunately, also is very, very uneven down over here. There is paint bleed from the copper onto the black. Looking at the pipes, the highlighting is, again, very, very uneven, where you have a lot of silver up top and then it trails off over here into black. And I think that's actually the case as I'm looking at this whole entire action figure. There are some highlights over here up top, and the same type of highlights over here. At least it's there. Pauldron looks really cool in my opinion. You don't get this at all in a normal Loyalist Space Marine action figure. However, looking at the skull on the Pauldron, you get a glaring difference literally from this eye socket compared to this eye socket. It's very dark here, but the shading is very uneven compared to that other side. And then flipping over to the left side, the Chaos insignia over here, which is nice that JoyToy always does a great job of making this very uniform and very clean looking, which is really cool. So looking at the chest area, you get to see two different paints that are going on over here. You have the silver that's in the middle, and then the brass going up from the middle area. So I'll have to say that the silver area looks a little bit too messy for me. I would rather have this part completely shaded. It just looked very uneven, unfortunately. And then with the piping, you're also getting a bit of unevenness too with the highlighting. But this is a lot more uniform than what you'd see up here, which is a nice thing. So looking at the waist portion of this Chaos Space Marine, let's take a look at the extra baggage that he has. So this holster looking thing has some weak highlights that are going on over here. They're fairly messy in my opinion, as well as this side. Looks definitely a lot better than the others. There's some nice uniformity that's going on. And at the top of the belt also is highlighted, which is, again, a very nice touch, even though it's a little bit rough in my opinion. However, when you're looking at this loincloth area, this is a very, very rough looking area. The highlights seem a little bit haphazard. You have the brushing that's going on here, 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 here. It looks very, very uneven and, well, to be honest, chaotic. And then you have the shading that's going on over here too, which is, it's very dark and very uneven. So far, I can't say that I'm really impressed by this action figure. It is very rough and very messy. Looking at the spikes of this Space Marine, the highlights are there. However, again, the highlights are very uneven. And finally, when we're looking at the feet of this Chaos Space Marine, you do get some highlights here. However, the highlights are very uneven. It seems like it's more bold on this side versus this. All right, let's take a look at the articulation of this action figure, starting with the shoulder joints. It's going to be 360-degree rotation over here, and it does have this ratcheting mechanism that locks the shoulder into place, which is nice because you're able to hold the various poses. The elbow joint is a 90-degree bend over here, and because of the pauldron, you're not going to be able to get this arm portion to go out further than this point right here. The head has 360-degree rotation. I'm not sure you would want to poltergeist this thing, but considering that this is a Chaos Space Marine, I'm sure you could do that. The torso has 360-degree rotation. As you can see, the legs at the knee joint, it has 90-degree rotation, and with the legs, if you kick it out, has a decent amount of rotation. If you really want, it's 360 degrees as you see over here, which lends for maximum posability. And that's pretty much it for the articulation. Let's give this bad boy its armaments. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is put the backpack onto the Space Marine himself. You just do this by this peg over here, like so. Fits in very nicely. And then with the bolt pistol, very easy to put in. Looks like it definitely belongs in his hands. And then finally, the chain sword, again, follows the same method. Just push this right in. And there you go. We have a fully kitted out Space Marine ready to slice the Emperor up. So that's the review of the Chaos Space Marine. Let me wrap this up with my final thoughts. So what do I think about this Chaos Space Marine? In terms of its accuracy, in terms of its uniqueness, in terms of mimicking a Chaos miniature from Games Workshop, I think, again, JoyToy absolutely does a fantastic job of this. You get these teeth over here. You get these teeth, jagged edges over here as well. And you get this awesome looking pauldron on the right-hand side and other various things just like these spikes down here that you would not normally see in a Loyal Space Marine. In that aspect, I think that, again, JoyToy really knocks it out of the ballpark in my opinion. But again, the issues where I find JoyToy is completely lacking is its painting. This Chaos Space Marine, in my opinion, has way too many issues for my taste and liking. You get too many inconsistencies, especially with the backpack. You get the bleed over here. You have the uneven shading that goes on for here and over here, as well as the uneven shading that I pointed out with the pauldron and the eye sockets. And there's just so many defects on this thing. It just makes me not really like this action figure as much. I know JoyToy is infamous for its painting problems. However, I have to reiterate myself, there's just too many painting issues on this action figure for me to really like it. One may argue that this is a Chaos action figure, so it's supposed to look all gnarly and dinged up like this, but I don't know. I'm in the camp that if you're going to be paying that amount of money, then you would expect this action figure to be a little bit cleaner than it is. So this is Spruce and Studs, and I hope you enjoyed this review. There's definitely going to be more review of JoyToy and McFarlane, as well as Bandai action figures that are going to be coming out in the 40K universe. So look forward to those. And as usual, I'll see you all in the next one.